What's the most disrespectful thing a guest ever did in your home? A friend asked to stay with me for a few days because she was having relationship problems. Turns out the relationship problems were all down to the fact she had a massive coke habit, and her boyfriend was fed up with her spending all their money on it. The first night she invited 5 people who I didn't know round after I'd gone to bed, and I had work the next day. Then she just disappeared for 3 days and went on a bender. I had her boyfriend calling me worried sick, and nobody knew where she was. When she finally turned up, she called me a shitty friend for not covering for her. She didn't even ask me to. So yeah, we're not friends anymore. Had my girlfriend and another now ex-friend come over to my house. My grandmother on my mom's side lived with us at the time. She had advanced Alzheimer's and could only communicate with basic phrases. She was so bad that she would pat people on their backs and say, "Good, good, good." She also walked around with a Ziploc bag of Q-tips that she would hand out as gifts. Anyways, this evening, said friend decided it would be funny to paint her in front of my girlfriend and me. He was promptly punched in the face and told to leave before he got hurt. I was shocked and enraged by the disrespect he showed my family and my old grandmother. It has been 20 years, and still have nothing to do with him. This guy was also the friend that would open our fridge and actually drank directly from our milk. Brother brought a few friends over after a party he was at, was busted. We weren't prepared for guests but rushed cleaned before everyone came. We told my brother to make sure everyone stayed downstairs and used the downstairs bathroom since the upstairs one was cluttered. Well, I went to use the bathroom upstairs, and the door was locked. I banged on the door and quickly popped out 2 girls with suspicious looks on their faces. I went inside and saw everything open, the closet, the shower, the cabinet, as if they were going through our stuff. Turns out they were recording and taking photos of them reacting to different products in our shower. We just moved here and haven't yet redone the bathroom. The home previously belonged to an elderly couple who haven't updated it since the 60s. Picture the bathroom covered in pink carpet, pink tiles, pink toilet, pink sink, etc. We live in a high-income town, and these girls came from much wealthier homes than ours. We are simply working class. They took these pictures and videos, basically mocking our home and products after we graciously let them in our home when we could have made them go home and ruin their nights. It was beyond violating and disrespectful, still pisses me off thinking about it. Got my first apartment, out of high school, and rescued my beloved cat, Dave, along with it so that I wouldn't be alone. I invited some high school friends whom I hadn't seen in a year over to party a bit and make it feel like home, as well as let Dave meet all the boys. This one dude stepped into my home for the first time and was immediately greeted with purry meows from my kitten, and this piece of shit kicked the light of my life 6 feet across the room, saying, "You bro, you know I hate cats." I immediately started beating the crap out of him in the worst fit of rage I've ever had, and thankfully a couple of my other friends broke us up and kicked him out. That was 5 years ago, and thankfully, I haven't seen him since and still hold that grudge. Also, Dave is thriving these days, and he is currently watching birds through the window in a state of complete bliss. A stranger hopped a ride to my house party from the bar we all started at. He acted super disrespectful. I was with a female date, and he didn't respect that we were there together and kept trying to get one or both of us to sleep with him. Got aggravated about it when we said no. And then he wouldn't leave. I bought him an Uber, and he refused to get in it. I started feeling scared. He knows where I lived and had to ask some of my guy friends to step in to get rid of him. He left for 10 minutes then came back. Yelled we were all racist for kicking him out. It wasn't a giant house party either, just 8 close friends hanging out after the bars closed for the night. It should be common sense if you're an uninvited stranger at a party. The least you do is respect the host. My husband's uncle, not really uncle, I think he's actually a first cousin, once removed, came over to help us with a water leak because he's a plumber. Offered him a cup of tea, and he sat at the dining table and just lights up a cigarette. Flicks ash on the floor because we don't have ashtrays as we are both non-smokers. Also, it was washing day, so we had wet clothes drying on clothes racks in the room too. Being English, we both said absolutely nothing and let him do it. Our fault, really, but we kind of felt we couldn't object, because he'd fixed our plumbing problem and refused to accept payment. Perhaps, it was a generational thing, as he was around the same age as my husband's parents, around 65-ish at the time. You'll have to decide which was the worst. Know how Ace Ventura would pile the sunflower seed shells on the arm of a chair? My ex's buddy did that to our couch, inches from an ashtray. Or, when we threw a birthday party, my other friend decided it would be appropriate to invite her drug-dealing cousin to our house. Someone I'd never met was busting out a scale on our kitchen counter with children at the barbecue. The friend got pissed with me when confronted, because it's only weed. It's a total effing stranger in my house, chick. I'm so glad, my life is without these people in it anymore. My friend got really drunk, went to the bathroom, passed out and remained locked in there until the next morning. I got down on the floor to look under the door to see if he was okay, and he was lying there on the floor, pants down, with his naked butt exposed. My husband got a long thin branch out of the backyard and slid it under the door. He poked him in the butt a few times, but he just laid there. Thankfully, we have more than one bathroom, but now when he comes over, he's not allowed to lock the door if he has to use the restroom. So, it was 3 friends and me. One of them was homeless, named Freddie. Because I've also been homeless and had recently gotten out of it, I invited them back to my place because I had bought some stuff for Freddie. Shoes and socks and supplies and stuff. While he and I were getting his things, my other 2 mates went through my stuff and took 5 expensive items. They were angry that I didn't buy stuff for them. When I was in college and living at my dad's house still, he would go out of town every other week or so. Had some friends over when I had the place to myself one night. A friend of a friend put her cigarette out in the flower boxes, full of mulch/soil, hanging from the windows by the back porch. Smoldered overnight, started a fire and woke up to the house filled with smoke and a charred up back door. I invited a friend to pre-drink at my parents' house, in our 20s, so my parents were fine with it. Showed up completely obliterated while my parents were there and dropped a small baggie of cocaine in front of them. He then proceeded to ask where the washroom was. Needless to say, that was a pretty tame night for me, as my parents sent him packing. But, of course, I had no idea about his coke habit, just for the record. Every single time, I invite my mother to come to a birthday party for one of my kids, or if I'm having a barbecue. Hell, any kind of get-together, she is invited too. She fills her car with a bunch of people, I have no idea who they are, and they invade the place like they are at war. They eat all the food and just destroy the place with their crazy antics. Some people have such a sense of entitlement that I just will never understand. She invited along with her boyfriend of 1 week, without asking if it was alright first, who proceeded to get stupidly drunk and throw up all over the back deck. He cut his ankle open while thrashing about and started dripping blood everywhere. As I was trying to put a band-aid on him, the girlfriend had the audacity to tell me he doesn't like band-aids. I said, tough shit, and put it on him anyway, and the rest of us angrily waited for his brother to come pick the 2 up. Had my cousin staying with me for 2 weeks visiting. I came home from work one of the days, and my cousin rearranged my guest bedroom and living room. I asked her why the hell she felt the need to move my house around. She said it looked better and I should thank her. She hasn't stayed with me again, and her family also won't let her stay with them after hearing what she did. A family member stole some of my mother's jewelry, including some that were left to her by my great-grandmother, who passed recently at that time. A few years before that, we also had another family member steal some pain medication my mom had as well. So, let's just say we don't really interact with my family that much anymore. My ex-husband's sister got into a domestic dispute in our living room. She really slammed my front door like it was her house and went to have a personalized Jerry Springer episode in my front yard. Told my ex-husband and ex-sister-in-law about herself and let her know she won't disrespect me or anyone else in my home and can take her drama elsewhere. It's like there weren't a million signs that was going to end badly. Live and learn. My sister used to stop over, drink my beer, steal my wife's clothes, make a mess, then leave. We changed the locks. So, she'd steal my parents' key to get in. We stopped giving them one, and somehow she'd still get in, like a damn cockroach. We have since moved far out of her visiting range. My brother-in-law and his girlfriend had no place to stay and ended up staying for 3 months. That's all I could handle. Not doing dishes. His girlfriend never even knew how a dishwasher worked, never cleaned up her plate, didn't know how to cook anything, never cleaned and threw her empty shampoo bottles in our shower, and my brother-in-law pissed against my daughter's bed, when he came home drunk. The couple sat down at a table with a cake, which hadn't been served, took each a fork and started to eat it, not cutting the cake into a piece for themselves, but going back and forth with forks to mouths in the cake, smacking and slurping. Nobody else wanted any cake. My 8-year-old neighbor walks into our house without knocking, acts like it's his house, yells, doesn't listen to us, ignores my dad every time my dad tells us to be quiet, when he has a call for work, eats our food, and so many more that won't come to my mind at the moment. Install software onto my computer. I did not get a satisfying answer as to what it was, so I did a full OS reinstall after he left. But, unfortunately, he did not get invited back.